Hi. It is February the 22nd, 2022. It's 2/22/22. Happy Palindrome Day, or actually Happy Palindrome Week. A palindrome, if I'm saying that right, is the phrase, a phrase or a word or a series of numbers that reads the same whether you read it forwards or backwards. And interestingly enough, the entire week this week, in fact, all the way to the end of this month now, we have palindrome days. You see, 2/21/22 or 2/21/22, 2/22/22, 2/23/22, 2/23/22. Anyway, I had to look at it just to be sure. So there you go. But I thought, okay, the same, backwards and forwards. Well, that made me think of a verse that you might be familiar with, Hebrews 13. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so I began to read that section of the wonderful book of Hebrews that can also sometimes be a pretty dense, complex book. The writer, Paul, probably, can get pretty complex in their thoughts. But the writer here is speaking to the new church, still a new church, just, freshly living out the way of Christ, following, his resurrection and ascension, and already that way is starting to be added to. Maybe we should do something else. Maybe grace is not enough. And so the writer is trying to show that Jesus is the fulfillment of everything that you're trying to do. Don't be adding to. Well, the Hebrew 13 begins with, and I love this first verse, it begins with the way of Christ, and the way of Christ begins. Let mutual love continue. And then we go through several verses of how to live the Christian life, showing hospitality, putting God first, truly loving one another with real empathy. And then we come to the verse that I read, verse 8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And then the next verse is, do not be carried away by all kinds of strange teachings, for it is well for the heart to be strengthened by grace and not by regulations, and in this case, regulations about food which have not benefited those who observe them. So you see already the new Christians were saying, well, maybe we should just be careful and not eat these foods or choose only those foods because, well, wasn't that something that we needed to do? And so we better make sure. We better hedge our bets. We better do a few things to earn this grace that we've been given. We haven't changed all that much. We're still looking for novel ways to be sure that we are living life to the full, that we are getting out of life what we want to, what we feel we ought to, that we can fill up that emptiness inside of us. I've been reading a book recently called Strange Rites, and it is an interesting compilation of some of the crazy ways that we human types are trying to fill up that God-shaped hole that's inside of us with all sorts of ideas and rituals that perhaps give us a feeling of connection, of a spiritual high, of an emotional high. The fact is, we're created for worship. We know that there's something more, something bigger than ourselves. And the fact is that something bigger is God, but God is a hard concept to wrap our minds around. We've had a hard time since, the beginning to be in the connection for which we were created. Well, Jesus has shown us in his very body the living way to embody the life that God wants for us. He came and he embodied all of the prophecies and all the truth that had been passed down. Jesus embodied it and showed us the better way, the way of grace, the way of love. He fulfilled all that God was doing and saying and is doing and saying, and he said, "Here is my body." What strange thing can we do? What way can we fill up ourselves? It's Jesus. Read the Gospels. Read the Gospels with fresh eyes. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Especially pay attention to the words of Jesus. There is truth, there is love, there is grace, there is embodiment of what we are created to be, who we are created to be, how we are created to live. And then read all the rest of the Bible too, through the lens of Jesus. Well, I'm going on too long. But the thing is, when you read Jesus, when you get to know Jesus, whether you read him forwards or backwards or upside down or inside out, you get the same message. Love. Merciful, extravagant love of God that is poured out upon us. Let's believe it, let's receive it, let's live it, and let's give it. Let's have a backwards and forwards palindrome day of loving God, receiving God's love, and loving one another. Jesus is the way. Have a great day.